Toto Wolff has done it with Lewis Hamilton. The team principal feels betrayed by their best F1 driver. Why so? Irrespective of trying so hard to always side up for Lewis Hamilton, the F1 driver with the most #1 F1 winnings appears to not improve. With this, Toto Wolff has officially given up on Lewis, and he says, "I'm fed up." The proposing being the only big issue for Mercedes pushed Lewis Hamilton down the line after the team was unable to find any sort of solution. What's interesting is that the proposing issue was more with George Russell than Lewis. Even then, the so-called top F1 driver with the most number of wins wasn't able to make it to the top. Don't you think Lewis just wasn't in the mood to do anything this time? During the last season, Hamilton was in excellent form, but it seems that he isn't able to carry that in 2022. It seems to us as if the Mercedes driver has to stay content with a little less outcome. However, the new guy George Russell has outwitted us a tad bit old countryman in various events. In this kind of situation, Bernie Ecclestone remarked. He said that Toto Wolff is somewhat down with Hamilton. What do you think? Is it true? Let's dig deeper into this matter. In today's video, you get one of the spiciest gossips regarding the F1 world. Who doesn't love some hot topics to rant on, right? So without further ado, let's get started. The former owner of F1 in an interview said to the Daily Mail, "Toto is getting a bit fed up with Lewis. I don't think he's trying, do you?" Let's put it another way. Lewis doesn't seem bothered about losing. It's not like him. He has a competitive nature, but he's taken losing a bit easy for my liking. Do you know how many titles Hamilton holds? He holds 7 titles, exactly equal to the record-breaking winner Michael Schumacher. Hamilton eagerly wants to add the 8th one soon, but we don't see it happening until 2023. Mercedes will have 2 large strides, and the ultimate next question is, will Wolff's team succeed this year or not? Hamilton is in for another year according to the contract, but who knows? This statement made by Ecclestone makes us think anything might happen. Ecclestone, the 91-year-old billionaire, continues to say Lewis might sell his position to Toto. "This is how much I am getting. I'll step down and give my half of what I will get." Toto can go and do one of his magic deals, offer someone less money and keep $20 million. No one needs to tell Toto this because he has already thought of it. Lewis would probably stop under those circumstances. I don't know what he is doing dressing up in all those funny clothes. Has he a deal to it? Is it to get noticed? Maybe that's it. Well, Ecclestone again remarked that he was kind of taken aback by Russell's excellent performance. He also mentions the driver who shifted from the Williams and said that he was also appearing to perform well, mainly because Lewis is just underperforming. It's already been 6 years since Ecclestone came out of F1 after he sold up to the Liberty Media. He hasn't attended any Grand Prix in the past 2 years, but sources say that he has very close connections with some eminent personalities in the racing world. This was expected, wasn't it? After all, he has been in this field for over 40 years. Initially, Lewis was struggling a lot to keep up pace with his new teammate George Russell, who was evident over the 9 race weekends we have seen so far in 2022. Ecclestone anticipates that Hamilton might walk away from F1 much before the end of his contract, but the cycle seems to have come up again. Russell's been doing a lot better than what was expected of him. On the other hand, Lewis can't keep pace with his own team members, let alone beat another F1 team. Despite the proclaimed hunger for this spot by Lewis, Bernie Ecclestone claims that Hamilton is longer interested in this sport as in every Grand Prix. Russell is spotted to deliver the best performance. "I didn't think Russell was that good, but he has done an excellent job. I'm surprised." Or is it a case of Lewis doing a bad job? A bit of both. Looking at Wolff's apologies made to the team radio for the absence of sportsmanship spirit of the W13, comprising the brand machine, the S-Box, Bernie surely isn't keeping calm about Hamilton. He again remarked that maybe Hamilton isn't as excited regarding this sport as he was at a young age. "Toto is getting a bit fed up with Lewis. I don't think he's trying, do you?" he doubted. Let's put it another way. Lewis doesn't seem bothered about losing. It's not like him. He has a competitive nature, but he keeps losing a bit easy for my liking. I don't think he is actively helping George. I don't think he's doing anything. I don't think he cares too much. He's not prepared to put the effort into winning that he did. Now Hamilton is also a human, right? He won't keep quiet about these matters, and he was labeled particularly for being a vocal driver regarding the rising issues which are seen under the newly set rules and regulations. Mercedes was one of the most affected teams. Ecclestone doubts whether our 7-time champion has been down with back pain and physical deformities, as was let out by him to the media. All BS, Ecclestone bluntly declared. George is taller, and if it was going to happen to anyone, it would have happened to him. There was a bit of Nigel Mansell about it. At least with Nigel, he would get out of the car and rub his left leg as if he had broken it. Next moment, it would be his right leg. With all this turmoil going on, we have started to think that Hamilton's career in Mercedes is flying high after the former F1 chief's claim. If the worst case scenario happens and the driver term comes to an end, there must be some short-listed replacements kept ready, right? Now we will be looking at some of the potential replacements. Lando Norris. If Mercedes is willing to keep their English lineage alive, then no doubt Lando Norris has to be the one in consideration. Unfortunately, this is highly unlikely because, as per sources, Norris recently signed a 4-year contract, and Zach Brown warned that there's no getting out clause in the document. The star driver is currently 7th in the rankings and finished 6th in the recent campaign while he goes on to prove his worth as a top-class contender. Esteban Ocon. Ocon has been the apple of the eye since his last performance in Alpine, where he impressed everyone by finishing in the 11th position last season. He is currently sitting in the 9th position in the ongoing campaign. Rumors date back further to the time when he used to race for Force India and connected him with a scheme for the larger teams in sport, although this never happened. Being a former junior at Mercedes and a reserve driver, this Frenchman knows the squad like no other newbie and would surely grab the opportunity to join the Silver Arrows. Oscar Piastri is another option for the Alpine replacement, which means this scheme is not too out of context, specifically when the Mercedes boss is searching for someone to play against George Russell. Daniel Ricciardo. This driver wasn't fortunate enough to see top teams coming for him in the 10 years that he's been working with them, but this time he stepped up from Red Bull to Toro Rosso. His reveals for Christian Horner's drivers behind in 2014 saw him finish in the 3rd position in the Drivers' Championship, while his victory in Italy's last campaign indicates that there is yet a decent driver in there around. But it will take him shifting to a team that commonly prospers more promising than McLaren to loosen the skill set. Alexander Albon. George Russell gave rise to the step-up from Williams, and Alexander Albon could perform in the end. Having steered for Red Bull in 2020, arriving 7th, the Thai star was downgraded to the position of Sergio Perez. He put up with a year out of Formula One before bringing about the shift to Williams at the beginning of this campaign. Rating just 17th in reputations, Albon has ceased to function to do well in his recovery. But with Russell advancing his position this year and arriving 15th under Williams' advice last year, a motion to Mercedes cannot be completely ruled out. Nick De Vries. 27-year-old De Vries is presently working with Mercedes' Formula E team while living as a reserve driver for the Formula One team. He has been called Mercedes' insurance driver for when Hamilton resigns, with Toto Wolff announced to be a huge buff of the Dutchman. He earned the 2021 Formula E Championship and appeared on top in Formula 2 back in 2019, presenting what he can achieve at the highest level. With a pedigree in the McLaren Institute and a past of winning, the 27-year-old is no doubt one of the favorites to grab Hamilton's chair should Wolff long for a modification. So this was what Ecclestone had to say about Toto Wolff and Hamilton. Hope to see their relationship in better condition someday. Stay tuned for more updates. Till then, goodbye.